Fantastic. Doing great. Today's graphic, we have Dane Scarlett as the masterpiece.
Come on, big up Dane Scarlett.
Same at the bottom. Okay, look. Before we get onto the actual whole 90 minutes, that finish? I was so unfamiliar. I did not expect that whatsoever. I was literally just in bed, not in bed, on the couch, looking at the TV. Kind of half of my phone because like the 92nd minute, I see the ball looped over by Kulusevski, and I see Dane Scarlett with his back to the goal. I'm like, yeah, here we go, whatever. And then I see him on the turn finish. I literally jumped. I was like, hello. What? I had no idea that he had that in his locker. But man, what a finish.
ARIAN, who needs Belize? Who needs Gift Orban? Who needs a Harry Kane replacement? We've got Dane Scarlett, and they don't call him Diamond Dane for no reason.
What I've been saying this whole time. You guys know every time I say Dane Scarlett, right? Totally. I come on here, I scream about Dane Scarlett. I've never mentioned Richarlison. I've never mentioned Harry Kane. I've never mentioned
Never at all.
Never, ever. I wouldn't. I would never. No, but unreal finish. Let's get to the game. I think that was against probably the best opposition we've had all season in preseason. Because realistically, West Ham, we had their B team, and Lion City Sailors are Sailors. I think against what is, admittedly a bottom tier Champions League side still, they are, not the best side, but also not the worst side. They were actually that was a really good performance, really promising. I think I think like everybody else, the three standout players, maybe the four really, were Madison, Udogi, Sar, and I think in that second half, Kulusevski, and I think Harry Kane speaks for himself, but I'm not going to mention him because everybody knows about Harry Kane. I was talking about the four standouts that we didn't expect to see that high of performance, especially Madison, though. Madison was, I think, even though Kane scored 4 goals, Madison took my man of the match. Incredible performance, absolutely incredible. That's what I wanted to see from anybody in that midfield. That's, I think, what we saw from Lo Celso against West Ham and the Lions City Sailors. And I think this time, because I think Kane was really more in the box, gave Madison the space to work, and he was sublime.
Yeah, we're really starting to see what we bought Madison for. And, the first couple of games from Madison were, a bit lackluster. But in this game, we really saw what he's about. And it made, I think, all of us really excited to see what can come this season. But in terms of the way we're playing in the first half and the way we're playing in second halves, I mean, what is that down to? Why do we just can't get to grips with things really in the first half, where end product in the final third seemed to be a bit missing?
2023 second half FC. I don't understand it. With Conte, with Pochettino, it's been a thing. I think. Well, I don't know. The halftime speech at the end of the day is going to, rile up players. That's one way to look at it, because you always have, like Ancelotti in the last 5 minutes. I think we dropped off. I'm sure he went in there and he said, "Look, you need to step it up. You need to step it up. You need to step it up." And we ended up just conceding barely on that line of halftime. Before halftime, even though obviously the second half again was a much better performance, I don't think we started that half necessarily poor. I don't think that half was poor up until the last 5 minutes. We could have scored about 9. Madison could have scored like 2. Kulusevski, if he could finish, could have scored like 2. Kane, I think, passed to Udogie at one time, which made no sense. I was screaming at my TV because he could have easily shot it, and I know Kane can finish that, and he gives it to Udogie on the turn. There was a lot of chances where we could have. Sar, I think, had one where the keeper saved, or had 2 of them. There was a bunch of times where we could have scored, and we just didn't. And then in the second half, we were just more clinical. And really, their goal came from, unfortunately, a really bad Davis mistake in the air where he just stared at the ball. And, that happens when you have a 5'11" fullback playing at center back. Thankfully, we finally solved that with Van de Ven. But that's just what happened. At the end of the day, I don't even think that first half was so bad. I think that second half we were just a lot more clinical, and it made it look much better. But again, I don't know. It's a weird one.
Tell me about Kulusevski in that second half, because I look like finally we're seeing that confident Kulusevski that we feel like haven't seen in maybe a few months. Do you reckon that was indication maybe he's getting back to his best?
I think even the first half he was actually quite good. I think Kulusevski's main problem has always been his kind of speed on the transition. That's always what he kind of that's where his weakness is. or his weak foot. But I think today his weak foot was actually quite good. He was using it, cutting back, and even I think he shot with it from outside the box, which took me by surprise. He had some good moments in the first half. When we are in their final third, when we're already there, he has the technical ability to play that intricate football, and it does, and we do fantastic. I really like Kulusevski there, and I think he showed that even in the first half. He had a couple of chances in the first half too, but in that second half, because the whole team I think was also performing at a higher standard, we were in their third for so much longer that Kulusevski had the time to get comfortable in where he is best, and that's why we saw such a good Kulusevski. I think he ended up getting 2 assists in the end. Could have scored about 4 if he could finish. They were half chances, to be fair. Not like they were tap-ins that he missed, but he had a lot of chances of major influence, and I think when we allow him to play in that final third, if we're not making him transition and use his speed, which is his weakness, and we allow him to use his technical ability, which is cutting in and playing in that half space, he can produce those performances week in, week out, because that's what he's good at. And, that's what I love about Ange. We're playing all of our players to what they're good at, not because that's what the system says. We're not suffering. I don't know what it is about Italians and suffering. We don't need to suffer. We need to play to our strengths. That's what I'm saying. I love that we play to our players' strengths.
ARIAN, let's talk about the fullbacks today, Destiny and Emerson. I thought both of them put in really good displays. Do you think now they're probably the 2 strongest bets for the start of the season?
I think so. I think maybe with Van de Ven coming in and we have a little bit more defensive security, I'd like to see what Porro can do. But, I mean, it is Emerson's spot to lose now for sure. Every time he's come in, I think he's looked better. He's also looked more defensively solid. But Udogie is magnificent. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if it's Udogie or Udogie. I'm going to keep going back and forth until I figure it out. But he was magnificent. I think especially in that first half, I think he was the best player that first half. He was unreal. Every time he goes in, like, I have this, like, after watching us for what has been like 3 seasons in a row now where we cannot defend, I get like nervous seeing our defenders charge at the ball, because in my mind I'm thinking we lost this 50-50 because I'm so used to losing the 50-50 and everybody retreats back into our own 18-yard box. But every time Udogie goes for it, I'm saying, shit, we lost it, and he gets it. And it surprises me and it impresses me, and he's done it so many times, and he drives up so much. He's an attacking outlet and so solid defensively. It's such a joy to watch, because when he takes that half, like in this system, the fullbacks kind of go to the central area. He wins that ball, like the aerials. I think in the first half there was one where the ball flew up. There was a Shakhtar winger like right next to it, and Udogie made this like challenge in the air where he like took a touch, and it like kind of I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, where the ball comes in, you take a touch and the ball goes like back and forth because it has so much spin on it. He took one of those, went down to the middle, passed it, and I was just in awe, because I hadn't seen that happen to like a Spurs fullback ever, because we charge for the ball, win it, and go to the middle, and keep the ball, and go on to attack. I think Udogie has such a he's such a talented player, and he's like, what, 20, 21, 22, yeah, whatever it is. He's so technically capable and so defensively resilient. Like, I'm so comfortable playing him the whole season. I just really hope he doesn't get injured, because he was so good at everything he did today. He was probably my second best player of the match today. Like, if we're not counting Harry Kane, because Harry Kane's Harry Kane. But Maddison and Udogie, like I said, 2 absolute standouts.
Oh, talk about Harry Kane. Is this the last we're going to see him in a Tottenham shirt?
I don't know. I think we got to add 20 million to the price tag after that one.
Yeah, I think so, ARIAN.
Look,
5 million a goal.
Right, exactly. That's what you get for Harry Kane. I mean, that's basically what they're paying. 500 million. They're going to probably get about 5 million a goal, given how many he scored. Look,
what's your prediction?
I think I don't know if you can, because with Levy there's 2 things, right? I think Levy is battling with this right now. If he sells, if the conundrum is convince Kane or sell Kane, selling him would be an admission of defeat, that I know I can't convince him because I know the project's going to fail, right? Or that he thinks that there's a higher chance that it does. If it's Kane that wants to go regardless, then, and we don't know that, I think that would have been out in the media. But more in the media is that, oh, Kane would stay if he convinced or whatever. So I think there's kind of been, wherever that info's come from, if it's come from Kane's camp, that's an absolute masterstroke, because that puts all the pressure on Daniel Levy. It's, do you believe in this project? Will you back will you back yourself and keep Kane and invest in the team and make sure you can convince him, or do you not take that bet and you cash in and try to invest back? It's. I almost feel bad for Levy, and I don't often feel bad because he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Because it is 100 million at the end of the day, 120 million euros, something. I don't know. None of us will ever know the exact number, but it's in that range. And it's a tough one because he has 1 year on his deal, and you just don't know if Kane will sit at that negotiation table and stay, or if he's going to go. And I think from a business perspective, you want to say he's got to go. I think objectively from a business perspective, you take the risk assessment test or whatever. 30-year-old, 1 year deal, 100+ million. You got to take it. And I think Danny Levy, at the end of the day, is a businessman, and I think he's going to take it, even though. Jesus Christ, the dogs again. Even though, it's a tough one. No one wants him to go, but I think he's gonna. That's my guess.
And, there were a lot of positives to take today, but in terms of the negatives, defensively, we looked a bit all out at sea at times again today. I mean, it seemed like all it took was one ball over the top, and we looked like we were struggling at the back. I mean, are you worried going into the season? Do you think we're ready?
I'm not even a little bit worried because of, firstly, the only goal they came from that they got was winning an aerial duel against our shortest defender, right? Which isn't even a center back, which is Davis. So there's that. Second of all, a ball over the top and a counterattack is exactly what happens to teams like Man. That's what you get when you play a high line. And with a player like Van de Ven, who is rapid, ridiculously rapid, I think we have plenty of cover in that. Udogie as well, even Romero, he's not very slow either. They're all quite fast players. I think we have the personnel now. Hopefully we can get the depth of personnel, which is my only worry. Because if one of them gets injured, then again things might get sticky. But I think that's every system of play has its downsides, and if you're gonna want to play this front foot football that Man Cities and Arsenals and all this modern kind of play that they play, you have to concede that. And sometimes you're gonna do what we do to Man City every season. You're gonna lose those games even though you deserve to win. That's gonna happen. But most of the time, teams are not good enough to consistently counterattack and beat you. That's the reason we've never been consistent for 3 years, because we've been playing this attacking terror ball, but it's not consistent and it will lose in the long term. On the contrary, possession-based football where you're on the front foot, yes, you're going to concede the odd goal and you're going to lose the odd game, but in the long term, you're going to have more quality than the other side and you're going to win. And you have to make that trade. I'm not worried. I think it's a negative of just football. And I think we have the personnel, as long as they can stay fit, to deal with it most of the time. I'm quite confident. I think we're ready. I think this performance was a very promising final, because I think it's been kind of known that the Barca game is really just more of a practice game than not, because it's like the Premier League's right after. They don't want to waste too much of their fitness. I think this was really the final preseason game. I wish we had more, like a lot of the other teams have had, but I can't complain too much. I think this was a really promising performance going into Brentford, and especially with Van de Ven, maybe one other signing. Hopefully, we can kick on, and I think we're in a pretty decent position to have a really good start to the season.
All right, big up, Arian. Thanks for coming on today, and we'll see you next time.
Good to see you, Arian.
Against Barcelona, and as always, come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!